everybody in the studio. Hello, everybody out there in YouTube land. Hello, world. Hello, etc. I am Alan Levine from Open Education Global, and we're here for another episode of our OEWeek live shows that we're doing during Open Education Week. And this is my wacky idea where I just ask people to come on the air and don't tell them like an agenda or a plan, and we just have conversations about what we're doing, what we're interested in, what our projects are, what we're doing this week. And honestly, just to get a chance to talk to each other like naturally, like we would do if we were face to face. And I'm really glad to have, and the best part of these is like people come together who don't know each other, and something always kind of magical emerges. And I just would like, I'll call on people, or you can pass it after that. Obviously, you'll introduce yourself and where you are in the world. And I've been asking this year, Nate always remembers. I always had like a question when we did virtually connecting. So if you could look out if you're looking out your window right now, or if you could look out your window, tell us what you see or what the view is from where you are right now. And I'm so excited. I have to call on you first, Kim, because you're a good friend, and you're like the bundle of energy, and I just love the work that you do. So welcome, Kim, to the show.
Well, thank you for that, Alan. I feel much the same way. I'm actually really excited to be on with Nate Angell because I'm quite familiar with his bingo game and use it in my micro-credential. So pretty excited about that. I can tell you I'm at the beautiful Waterloo campus of Conestoga College today. And if I were to look out my window, I'm actually overlooking the library with lots of bright light windows. We still have winter here in Ontario, so today's a bit dreary, but it's beautiful here. Thanks for having me.
All right. And you get to call the next, you get to pass the baton, if you will. So who do you want to say hello?
Oh, well, I'm going to pass the baton to Girish.
Welcome, Girish.
Thank you, Kim. Hi, everyone. I'm Girish, and I'll start with a brief introduction of mine. So I am Girish, and I'm currently pursuing bachelor's in computer science, and I'm a student in Conestoga College. It's so good to be here, being in front of you all and sharing my views on OER. Right now, when I see in front of me, I am sitting in library in Waterloo campus, and so good environment that everyone is like preparing for their exams right now, and it's like pretty good environment, and it's like I would always come here, have a brief chat with someone, and learn what are they actually studying. So thank you for having me. Actually, thank you so much.
Oh, and thank you for. I just love that you said you wanted to be on this, because my feeling is like a lot of students wouldn't want to get on like camera on the internet with a bunch of professors or academics, and I was in the last session with a young student who talked about that, and I said, you have this incredible power because you can ask questions about anything because you're new, and so it's just a great position to be in, to say like, well, why do you do that, or what is the meaning of that? So I encourage the questioning mind. And and speaking of great minds, I'm going to go over to Nate Angell, who is on Mars or some planet devoid of an atmosphere.
It certainly seems that way. Yeah, I don't know. I don't normally have this kind of weird background. And I am in a place with sort of interesting lighting. It's kind of dark in here right now, which is maybe why I appear so, I don't know, discolored. But I am, normally I live in Portland, Oregon, but I happen to be on a surprise, sudden, last-minute trip to attend South by Southwest EDU, which is in Austin, Texas. And I'm sitting in this very old, fancy colonialist hotel lobby that is here in Austin. And if I could see out the window, I would look out on 6th Street, which for people who know Austin, Texas, is a street lined with honky-tonks and bars that play live music, basically. Not quite 24 hours a day, but something like that. So it's a study in contrast, because this feels like an old gentleman's club inside, but outside it's like honky-tonk land. Really happy to be here, and I guess I should pass to Dick then, right? Because he's the last one.
Hello, Dick. Welcome.
Yeah, thanks. I hope you can hear me. We had a bit of trouble with the audio. Well, I'm actually in a little town called Orange, which is about 4 or 5 hours inland from Sydney in Australia. It's over the dividing range. You drive over what's called the Blue Mountains, which are more of a hill, more hills than mountains, but it's a good for the tourists. We call it the Blue Mountains. But I'm actually in my daughter's house. I normally live in Sydney, and I have a view over. I'm lucky enough to have a view over Sydney Harbour and the Sydney Harbour Bridge, but I can't show it to you because I'm in my daughter's room. She's away at a conference, and I'm on grandparent duty here with a grandchild who's just luckily managed to catch the bus to school this morning, and the dog, grand dog duty, a beautiful golden retriever. So that's me. So I'm in a little in my daughter's study in her room, and I'm looking out actually over a building site because there's a lot of building going on here. It's Australia trying hard to catch up with its housing needs, and a lot going on here.
That's fantastic. I would call. I've been in the Blue Mountains. I'd call them mountains. They're
Well,
majestic.
there's sort of like it's like the Grand Canyon, where you look down into things rather than up. Anyway, it's
Yeah.
very nice, very nice.
Well, welcome. And I know, like, and here's where I don't know what to do. So it's going to be who feels like talking about something first, and people can bring things. I'm really intrigued to hear from Girish about his questions, and Dick, I know you had some things you wanted to share. But like for maybe just to hear, and I don't expect that everybody's like filling their week with Open Education Week, but there's a lot of involvement in just how it feels or what you're seeing this week. Anybody?
Sure. So thank you so much. First of all, this week we actually planned a lot of things. So to start with, on Monday we had an open panel in a downtown Kitchener campus of Conestoga College, in which we were actually promoting open education resources and actually letting people know that how we help and like how they can save money by using our resources. We also had a student panel, in which two of my beautiful team members joined and shared their insights on open education. Moving forward to Tuesday, we had the same booth on the main campus of Conestoga College, which is the biggest campus. It is the Dune one. And today we are here at our Waterloo campus, and we had the same booth in which we provide insights of the open education resources, and uh, how we make them and how we publish them, and what are our current projects and what they can expect from us. So it's been till now a beautiful week of open education and promoting them. So I'm learning from all of you guys. I've seen a lot of YouTube videos of you as well. So it's good to be here with you all experienced guys.
Oh, thank you. And I like to ask, and it's impossible for you to generalize, but like, what does open education mean to your quote unquote average student at Conestoga? I imagine there's some awareness because of all the work that you've done there, but what comes to their mind when you talk about open education?
So honestly, to start with, I would say that when I was a student, I was not working with open education. I had a French course and I was using the open education resource in that. But I didn't had any clear idea of what is the difference between the open resources and the paid resources. So when today when we were on a booth and we asked the same question to the other students, and we were like, "Do you know what is open resources and what are we working on?" So they were like, no. So sometimes what I do was like, open your fees receipt, and I showed them that, like, look, these are the textbooks you're paying for, and you can easily access them with all the licensing, and it's very it's published by the OER department, and you can access it freely. So they they were like, why we didn't knew about it earlier? So this is our main reason of like open week to promote the work we do and let more people know of what they have and what are the resources they have and how they can use it. So this was the insights that I actually got from this is what I learned from the new students. Thanks.
Oh, thank you. And again, it's just like I would dream that we could get more students in here to be part of what's going on, and I think the student involvement has a lot to do with the work that Kim has done there at Conestoga.
Yeah, we really try to promote to students, which is what they're doing, is just raising that awareness that we're here, what we do, what we have, and also that it can go beyond our institution, right? Just understanding the wide amount. And we always hope that students will advocate for this type of resourcing as well once they understand it. One of the great things about the program that Girish is in is they talk a lot about open source. So he is a computer science. I'm probably going to get the program wrong, Girish, so you can correct me. So this has been really exciting to have computer science students working with us as OER assistants because they're really bringing a different lens than we've had before. And they're like, maybe call it open source, maybe don't call it open educational resources. And then that is something, that term that the students are more familiar with. So yeah, we're trying all those things, which is what I love about having students working with us.
And a credit to open source. I deal with some technology stuff, and like I'm kind of, I know a certain amount of technology, but a lot of times I end up contacting the maintainers of some open source software I use, and I have a question or a bug, and like I've been over, like in the last couple months, like I get a response like almost within half an hour, and it's by the person who's writing the software, and they answer it, and they appreciate the input. On the other hand, I know when I have commercial software and I need to like get some help, I go through some kind of help desk support, a Zendesk thing. I submit a question. I sometimes hear from them in a couple weeks, and it's something like, we'll have to take it to our team. And the difference between the kind of support you get from open source and commercial is astounding to me. So good to be in that field. I'm gonna call on somebody here. So Nate. Well, just because this is like an excuse, because Nate and I are old colleagues. Well, not old. We swum in the same waters for a long time, and it's a great chance to catch up with Nate. And I don't know. I just keep imagining things like I feel like I'm hallucinating things about artificial intelligence. What am I hallucinating? I'm teasing Nate.
Yeah, you're trying to set me up, I can tell.
Yeah,
Although I
yeah.
was super excited to hear from Kimberly about that you were using the open education practice bingo card. Did I hear that right? That you're actually using an open learning experience bingo card? I don't even know the name of my own game.
We have a 6-course micro-credential that people can apply to a credentialed teaching certificate here at Conestoga. And so one of the courses is open educational practices, sort of like in the classroom. And so I actually have a bunch of examples of different types of open things that people could incorporate that are kind of ready to go. And yours is definitely up as one of the top ones that we explore and think about, even just using it in the context of which you had set up, right? Is just thinking about when do you apply something to your class that's open, and then how they might use the bingo cards because you've made them repurposable, how they might then use them in their own classes. So it's something that kind of has this dual purpose in the micro credential, I think. So we really appreciate that. That's why when I saw your name, I'm like, oh, great. I get to like put a face to, this activity that we're using. It's pretty exciting.
Yeah, that's me, and it's been a while since I made that, but it's really great to hear, and it was a group effort, of course, but really great to hear that someone has actually taken up and used it. I'd love to hear that. The thing that Alan was teasing me about was my most recent work, I guess, and that is a paper that I recently published with somebody else who we were hoping would join here today, Anna Mills, but if she doesn't, I'll just speak for both of us. And I noticed Alan just put the link to the paper in the YouTube chat there. And so just a quick story behind this paper is that Anna actually kicked off a conversation on social media about this term that they use with artificial intelligence when it gives us some sort of answer that we don't think is the right answer. We have a tendency to call those hallucinations, right? And a lot of people in the discourse around artificial intelligence feel that hallucination isn't a great term for these things that AI outputs. And so she started a whole conversation around what should we call them instead if we're not going to call them hallucinations. And it led to this kind of like long online conversation. And then eventually the two of us kind of collaborated to settle on a new term, which is actually AI mirages. And we make a case for why mirage is a better metaphor than hallucination in this paper. So I could say more about it, but that's the kind of topic of it. And so we're kind of on a campaign to try to get people, and maybe, Girish, maybe this could be one of your goals in your field, in case you end up working with artificial intelligence, is to change the way we talk about artificial intelligence to no longer use this word hallucination, because it's actually not a very good analogy to what's going on, right? The AI is not an experiencing sentient being who, lives in reality like a human being and then can hallucinate and move away from it. That's not a good analogy for what's happening. And so we make a case for why mirage is a better metaphor. You may not agree with it, but we actually think a lot of different names and conversations for this would probably be better than just settling on hallucination. So I'll leave it there, and maybe people have reactions to that or thoughts about it. I could say more about it, but I'd love to hear what other people, like, how does it hit you when you first hear this as an alternative term?
And while people are thinking that the credit, like the paper it's a joy to read, because I almost forgot, but I do remember this because it was, I left Twitter, like, I think after this, not long after this happened, but there was a great dialogue. And what Anna and Nate did, they kind of collated all these responses, and they have this linked in the article to the spreadsheet. So their methodology and their research and everything they're based upon is all open too. And it's rather impressive the way they shared the coding of the responses and came up with a methodology to determine the best response. And I already said this in a reply to Nate's blog, but I was reading it and I was like, but wait a minute, I have this question. And then it would be answered like in the next section. So you anticipated all the questions Alan might have.
We did. We wrote it just for you, Alan. That was you were our ideal audience. What will Alan want to know next? Yeah.
What kind of, what kind of responses are you getting?
It's been out. We published it about mid-February, or it finally hit the streets then. It took a lot longer to put together than we thought it was going to be. And also we had a bit of a drama getting it published. We were initially going to publish it in some sort of popular media, like something more like Wired magazine or something. It's more of an op-ed piece. We didn't have any luck there. We then moved to like scholarly journals. Didn't have any luck there. It wasn't scholarly enough for them. We eventually moved over to the preprint area, if you're familiar with scholarly preprints. And actually, we tried to publish it first in Archive, which Girish is probably familiar with as one of the primary computer science preprint servers. They also didn't find it scholarly enough. And so we ended up publishing it on SSRN, which unfortunately, this will make Alan groan, is Elsevier's preprint server. But yeah, we wanted it to have a sort of official home with the DOI so people could cite it as a scholarly work and so forth. But so it saw the light of day. People are definitely into it. We've gotten, a bunch of just sort of thumbs up kinds of responses. We've had a couple of really negative responses, actually, which I was interested to see, where people were like, some people just feel like it's way too late. There's no way you can make an intervention in the discourse at this late stage. Hallucination is here to stay. Maybe it's wrong, but it's too late. And so don't even bother. That's one kind of response. And another one is that It's not important to make this distinction about how hallucination isn't an accurate metaphor, that it actually, we argue that using the term hallucination actually obscures how AI really works and reduces AI literacy. And so part of the reason we want to make the intervention is so that people will think more carefully about what AI is really doing when it returns results. And some people don't really believe that that's an important enough kind of argument to make, because they actually feel like it's possible for AI to never make any mistakes eventually. And we actually cite papers. We cite papers in our paper that prove mathematically and logically that AI will mirage no matter what. At least in the current LLM architecture that we see a lot of generative AI in now. So, anyway, I've been yammering on for a while. So,
well, you're in the realm of not being able to please all the people all the time. But Dick started to say something
for sure. But if I can call on you all to join us in this campaign to start using the term mirage instead of hallucination, I'd love it. Love to sign you up for the campaign.
I'm on it. I haven't used the H word.
The H word, nice.
Yeah, I'll join too. I just wanted to pick up on the preprint business and tell you, follow Alan's request to say what we've been doing. I mean, this week I've been running a course on open publishing and open reviewing together with the West and Central African Research and Education Network, Marin, who actually hosted the presentation I made in OEWeek earlier this week. And they've set up as we all know, due to all sorts of reasons, getting published if you're in Africa is much more difficult than anywhere else. My personal professional field has been in public health. So one part of this is trying to add some options for African researchers to publish and preprints. So what I've been doing with them is we've run a couple of courses, free online courses through Moodle, and the first one was on peer review, and the second one for the people who graduated through that, we've offered one on open publishing and pre-review, and they've got set up a preprint repository and then a preprint and pre-review, open review facility to try and boost visibility of research and also, of course, improve quality. So I've been grading the submissions of people who have submitted a paper to the repository, and there's a lot of the open publishing and the open education are, well, they're linked, and it's quite important, I think, to have. And it was interesting to hear, Nate, your difficulty of getting something published when you're trying to say something new and exciting, and get an audience. So there's a long way to go with this, but it's starting.
We're losing your audio a little bit, Dick. Sorry.
Yeah, I heard the endo, and I will say that the issue with scholars in majority population countries like in Africa and so forth getting published, very similar to what we experienced, although we sit on a throne of privilege by comparison. But I think part of it was that neither one of us has a PhD. Also, I'm not affiliated with an institution of higher education. Anna is. She's at a college, but she's a community college teacher. So, there's levels of privilege working in the publishing world too, I think, Dick, like you point out.
I'm
Yeah, good.
curious to know, Nate, were there any open access journal options for you?
Yeah, it's funny. There was actually an open access journal that had a special edition on metaphor in the field of artificial intelligence,
Yeah.
and they turned down our paper.
Oh,
We
Oh, wow.
we were
is it
just
the
like,
title?
okay,
Is it the title? Are we tripping? Do they get stuck on the title?
maybe. I was a little shocked, actually. I'm like, I sort of felt like, oh my God, this is a special issue, designed for this paper.
Yeah.
And again, they
Yeah.
felt like it wasn't scholarly enough. So, and it isn't deeply scholarly. Like you pointed to the methodology, it was not a rigorous scholarly activity at all, but it does try to make an intervention in the discourse of scholarly activity. I don't know.
So like
That-
it's kind of interesting because I could see like another pathway being presenting at something like an OTESA conference, putting in a preceding paper, and then they will automatically put you into their journal. I believe. Please don't quote me on that. I just said that live on TV, but it's like a pathway to kind of circumvent, right?
The bingo card was actually published in an OTESA proceedings journal. So I know it well. Yeah, we were trying to get it out as soon as possible, and we were just struggling. And we actually, because we wanted to affect wider discourse, that's why we were first aiming for some popular media outlet, right? Because we really wanted to get it in front of, the people who might really carry the winds far. But at any rate, at least it's out there now and it's citable. So,
all right, I'm boycotting Wired magazine. I don't go there anyhow because you can't read their articles.
Tell you what, Wired is actually, I am now a committed Wired subscriber again, and I wasn't for many years. They are doing really good reporting on the current situation on politics in the United States and the tech angle. So I'm now a renewed Wired fan. But
all right,
sorry, I know I was off for a while.
No, I love them, and Clive Thompson, who's a regular writer, he's one of my favorite writers. But yeah, the state of publishing is as convoluted as almost everything else is these days,
and filled with AI mirages as well. I mean, the effect of AI on scholarly publishing, especially, is pretty dramatic already. Peer review at the peer review level, at the publishing level, there are complete. Actually, I've gotten probably a dozen advertisements to post our article in what are clearly fake journals that are mostly populated with AI generated content. So we live in a world of slop.
You said that. I'm finding a link. Oh my gosh, I don't want Zoom. We're not in Zoom. Have you heard of Spurious Scholar? I'm putting it in the chat. There's this guy, Tyler Virgin, and he's got this great site called Spurious Correlations, and he creates these things that are they have high degrees of correlation between things that have no relationship, and they're funny, and it's just about the meaningless sometimes of correlation. So he developed this thing, and it just generates scholarly articles that are just LLM spawned, and they're kind of fun to see how they spit out. I don't know. I'm totally going off subject. What's going on that's giving you some good vibes and or things that you're excited about? Anybody? You were just at a conference, Nate? Yeah. Or sorry, Dick, go ahead.
Well, I just wondered, I was interested in Nate's comment about how difficult it is when you're outside an institution. And it seems as though there's a lot of activity going on in this field outside the higher education sort of hierarchy. And I mean, personally, I'm retired, so I'm not, I don't also have an institution. But how do people feel about getting their views? How does one make an impact? How does one get an audience? How does one do things from outside? And my current interest is in university reform, higher education reform.
Hmm.
And it's not going to come from within the institution because they're basically broken. I mean, you might apologies for anyone who doesn't who actually works doesn't agree with that. But how does one mobilize? Uh, and I think that the work that Alan does in OEG and fantastic. So how does one mobilize from outside?
Blogging, right, Alan?
I was going to say, well, I can't say anymore, but it's like you get big on TikTok, but that doesn't help anymore. uh, I yeah, it's kind of interesting. Like you're kind of wondering about like and it maybe it's like higher education sometimes acts like it has like this degree of sort of like um, ownership or authority that maybe is starting to like not be there, but like what arises new from within, chaos doesn't help, and everybody's under all kinds of pressures. And I don't know about you, but like in some ways, like the pandemic seems like it was 10 years ago compared to the feeling of the world, the state of the world right now. And I think it's these informal like networks and connections, and I don't know, Dick, I don't know how you make big change, except you try, which is kind of a unsatisfactory cliche pat statement. I don't know. um
I don't know. I think it's good to look to the young people like Garish that come with that
yeah.
excitement and hope for what the future is holding. I mean, that's why I love that we are able to hire students because they just bring that. Like, I don't know, Grish and some of his colleagues were just at a 36-hour hackathon this weekend. Like, talk about dedication and excitement for the future and all of the skills that came with that. Because I follow them on LinkedIn, right? They've all added me, and watching their stories about they stayed up for 36 hours. I know one team, Grish, I apologize. I don't know what your team worked on, but I know one of the other teams, they were working on solving registration problem at a health center because
Oh,
they had recognized this problem waiting at a clinic to get in, and how could they streamline that? So that was the problem they worked on in 36 hours. They didn't win the big prize, but they did come up with a solution. So I don't know. I think, from that hopeful perspective, Grish got his
yeah.
hand up, so I'm going to let him jump in
Yeah.
there.
So I'll just pop in and mention about the hackathon that I had in the last weekend. So we were given three problems. One was related to healthcare, like was there any problem that is actually in the healthcare industry, and how would you solve it? Second one was related to sustainability and waste management, which is the topic that I worked on. So in that, my main or our main team focus was like when you let's see personally, when I go to, let's say, Walmart, I go buy 24 crate water bottle, but I do not care how much waste or how much like plastic I'm using and how sustainable it is for the environment. So I have no idea of it. I'm just buying it like just as a normal use. So how to solve this problem? How to let people know that instead of plastic bottle, you should use the glass bottle, which is actually reusable. So I made or we made a program in which we can put, like, for example, I'm buying a plastic bottle. So I'll write plastic bottle in it. It will use AI and it will generate an image of plastic water bottle. Along with that, it will show a good description about the plastic water bottle and how it is not good for the environment based on like four things. One was like how it is made. Second was like its carbon footprints, and two more other things, and its sustainability score. So along with that, we had an option of putting the URL. So for example, I'm going to Walmart and getting like a plastic mug. So if I copy and paste the URL of plastic mug from Walmart into our project, It will generate the same image, it will go to the same URL, and will give me the sustainability score. And this, like, we cannot develop everything in like 36-hour hackathon, but our future goal was like, if I put plastic water bottle, it should go into AI, look for some alternatives, and provide that instead of plastic bottle, you should use the glass bottle. So this is our future enhancement that we can add in our project. So there are some stuff like hackathons which happened last week. We have one more coming this weekend. So in which we actually apply our skills, use our mind, and learn from each other. So there were like 88 people, something like that. And we go to each other, talk to them, learn from them. So I enjoy being a part of this great environment and learning from everyone.
I think that's better than any prizes is the experience.
Yeah.
And I mean, what you're describing is like the ability to come up with a prototype of a solution like that can do that complex, kind of visualization and presentation, and like that wasn't even possible like a short time ago. And so I think it goes a long way. If I might ask, like out of the participants, how many were female? Percentage
I would
wise?
say it was 50-50.
Oh, that's
So female,
fantastic.
it
Oh,
was, yeah.
that's wonderful. That's very exciting to hear.
And even like there, I love the thing that it is not only focused on IT. We know that like making a project, you have to do coding stuff, you have to know about the software development things. But there were students who were not even the IT based background, and they came, they had the brain, they had like good problem solving skills, which actually helped them learn. And so like two people just providing the ideas, and two people working on it. So it's a whole team work which actually generated and a big project which by enhancing it would help to solve a real world issue.
I
Oh,
mean,
wow.
whether better learning is there? Maybe what we
Yeah.
need to look at the hackathon for other types of programs that, I mean, they are all invested. Who stays up 36 hours over a weekend during exam and also holds a part-time job as
Yeah.
an OER assistant? Like they're engaged, right? And that's what I think that's what we need in higher ed. We need to figure out the engagement answer.
Yeah.
And came out with how much was professor led, Girish? Was it mostly student led or was there some professor led?
So it was a great idea that the organizers were all students, but there were workshops and activities in between. So like every 3 hours, there are some workshop which was volunteered by professor, and professor came, taught even in nights, like for a 2 hour workshop, and they did volunteering as well. So everything was organized by students, but there was a end like from the professors as well.
So like I see a lot of, when I hear Girish and his colleagues talk about this, I see co-creation, I see student led, I see all those open educational principles. Maybe they weren't calling them that, but we can see it. Those of us in the movement, right, can recognize those components. So how can we copy that over into other parts of higher ed would be my question.
Yeah, I think they colored in several squares on the bingo card, right, Kimberly?
So what's the stimulus? What's the stimulus? I mean, is it a prize, or why do people take part? Is it part of the course, or is it a requirement?
So honestly, there was no requirement for it, and there's like no mandatory that you have to go and register for it. So now IT students actually love to learn and how to work in a team and solve a real life problems. So people do not go for like that the prize monies of $8,000 or something. There was no prize money. There was like they didn't even actually announce it earlier that we'll be giving some prize money. So it is actually good to go and gain some skills, apply what you have, and make something bigger for the future use.
And I'd like to think there's a lot more of this than we give credit to, because it's just maybe not as visible. But I think of so many like community projects and people who get together and share their ideas on permaculture, or devote their time to rehabilitating houses for people to make affordable housing. I just like, probably, Kim, like, more of it is maybe, or as much is like where it happens in terms of like being inside higher education or out. I think there's a lot of informal learning going on. Public libraries, I think people forget how much happens in public libraries.
Yeah, I've been invited to a couple community service capstone presentations where they're definitely using that same concept, and having those partnerships with community and businesses are really key, I think, and something that we do, I think, fairly well in colleges, is there's that applied component. So yeah, it's pretty exciting. I just thought, if we're looking for solutions, why don't we ask the people that we want to be our audience? Let's ask the students, what's the solution? What will make you what will make you excited to come to school? I also wonder about the LinkedIn game, because I do see a lot of posts celebrating what they learned and what they did, and that putting that out there for future employers on LinkedIn seems to be the one that I see most people on, but that's also the one I'm mostly on now. And just showing what we're doing, what we're learning in school or while we're at school, that maybe future employers would find interesting.
It's funny. I realize this is Open Education Week, and what I came here to talk about doesn't really have anything to do with open education. But what you guys are talking about now is something I'm deeply interested in, and I actually have dusted off a proposal for a way of kind of thinking about exactly what you all are talking about. I'm going to put a link here in our private chat just for you. We could share it out, I guess. I haven't really published it more widely yet, but I call it REAL, which stands for renewable, experiential, and applied learning. And it basically tries to bring together the concept of community-based learning, like you all were just talking about, with open either educational resource or open science artifacts, and having students go on a journey that might start in a learning institution, go through some sort of community, but then return to the institution to contribute back to renewable resources that would be openly licensed. And one of the main reasons that they need to be openly licensed, in addition to all the other benefits, is that the students can then use them in their portfolioing for job seeking and further academic, efforts. So it hit almost it hits everything that you were just talking about, Kimberly, and Giresh's experience last weekend. So I'm bringing this in front of a few institutions right now to try to get a couple who are already doing this kind of thing to sign on as to sort of do a proof of concept, and we're going to try to get some funding to do it. I brought it before some funders already to try to tease out a little bit of money. Haven't got it yet, but I'm looking forward to that. So if Conestoga is interested,
I'm always open to chatting about synergies, 100%.
Okay.
I think a really key point, and something I've really learned, and I know Girish came to talk a little bit about impact, is how do we document the results in a way, as you mentioned, trying to get into the journals, right? How do we document in a way that it's scholarly and that we can get that story out, so that it can then be utilized to expand upon? Because I think we're talking about open principles, whether a student chooses, because I really think it's important that they have choice. They don't have to share it unless they wish to, but even how students choose to share their story on LinkedIn, nobody prompted it. They just chose to share the experience, and then other people can learn from it. I enjoy watching, reading their posts and thinking, wow, that's pretty cool. And that was a very informal way, but I think we need to formalize it, a component of it, right? So that we have that documentation of impact that we can use for funders or whatever that looks like at our institutions.
Yeah, I totally agree that it's like how to crystallize it. And I think one of the reasons why I thought there was a reason to try to band together was I think a lot of these activities are already happening, and they aren't coalesced into like sort of like a movement that people understand and recognize, and they're not sharing their best practices amongst each other as well as they might. And so that's one of the purposes behind trying to kick off this real initiative, is to bring that kind of like a little bit of structure to it so that it can be promoted more effectively.
Well, that's great. Thanks for sharing. I mean, if I'll leave it. If anybody's interested, I can help them get in contact with you. But I'd love to see what happens with this idea, Nate. And
yeah, super early still, but we'll see what happens. Yeah.
And honestly, like, I hope you know that, like, my idea of what open education is like as wide as what I see out my window right now. So, which is pretty wide.
I don't think we heard what's out your window. What is out your window?
Snow. We still have snow, lots of sunshine, and lots of wide open space.
Can I ask Alan? Can I just ask advice from the group about? I'm developing this course on distributing learning and distributing knowledge creation, which essentially puts open education in a framework of knowledge equity. So it puts open education into a broad framework. And I've got a draft course, and I'm very keen to get people to look at it and try and improve it and work together and see if it's possible to improve it, and for organizations to use it, for orientation of their staff about the value of open education and how it fits into the broader context. And I wonder if anyone's got any advice about, maybe I could try a hackathon. Sounds really good. Or, are there any ways of getting involvement, particularly from the younger generation, who are going to be the beneficiaries of all this into the future?
I call him Garish.
Thank you so much. So, like, I have joined hackathon last week. Even this weekend, I have an hackathon. But after that, the next weekend, I'll be going to a different campus in Conestoga for a networking event. So, what I think is youngster actually do right now, everyone, like even me, think of their career and their future. So people do wants to talk to one who are actually experienced and can give advice like moving forward. So right now, me being in the panel today, my main reason was like even being just 2 months in like working with OER, I have my mindset that I'll gain something in an hour and would be really helpful for me to apply forward in like my coming months for an OER and like produce something good. So nowadays youngsters do think of what they actually want to do and what things can help them like in future. So even a networking event like with for example with a lot of experienced guys would help to gather youngsters and get insights from them.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was thinking, it reminded me a little bit, you may already know, Dick, about the pre-review organization and movement for open peer review. I figured you knew them already, right? They have a kind of interesting ambassador program. And I was just thinking that if there were some way for you to hook up with, sort of people like young people or students who, or maybe even young, early academic professionals at institutions all over the world, and try to get ambassadors who would try to, deliver your course in their home environment. Maybe there could be a sort of ambassador program model.
It also kind of made me think about Terry Green when they were doing the Empowered Learner, and he put out a call for wicked problems. So I want to hear from students from all kinds of institutions, no matter, and I want to know what are your wicked problems? So I don't know if there's something in that model, because I think he had really good uptake.
Yeah.
and got a lot of really good things to then create the OER that they created from figuring out the solutions to those wicked problems. So like I think, and it's fun, right? He made it fun. So people were interested and they went on his podcast, and the students could talk about their wicked problems on the podcast. And as you can tell from Girish, even they want to have that sort of FaceTime, speak time. They want people to know that people are listening to what they're saying, right? And I think that's the best way to get buy-in, is when you ask somebody, what problem can I help you solve? And then give them an opportunity to make sure that they're heard. And then you came up with a solution to solve the problem in a way that included them. I mean, I think that's the...
You just start a podcast. So
just start a podcasting. I'm sure there's quite a few of us here that know Terry, so we could probably maybe set you up with that if you've not already been on his show. I've listened to most of them, but I don't remember if I've seen one.
You'd just be like positively relentless. Like I knew long ago, like I would try everything I could to get people interested in a project, and then I would just say, oh, I give up, and I go on to the next project, and like 2 months later someone comes out of the woods. So like just don't give up. And it takes a lot of effort, and just like as much as you can, try to find the hooks of interest for people. It's hard. I've been at this my whole career, and I feel like my success rate is really low, but as long as you connect with a lot of people, and absolutely, I know from our interactions that you believe in this, so that's not a problem for you. It's just, there's so many people with different interests. I was just trying to think, like, if you could find the right person who is like teaching, like a program where this is like part of something that they could study as a case example, or someone who's teaching online education, or the GoGN graduate network, people who are involved in looking at how people learn. And I know it's hard because you're trying to create this course and curriculum that's outside of an academic realm, if you will. But someone out there someone out there will appreciate it. I guarantee it.
And you don't always know your impact, right? I don't think Nate knew I was using his bingo game, and I bet you there's piles of people using your bingo game still, but you don't know because we don't always take the time to say, hey, I'm using this.
And Nate will know.
That makes me think that it's a good idea to put a kind of phone home component into your artifact, so that there's a natural place for people to report back, like, hey, I was using this and here's how I made improvements or changed it, or here was the context.
And I just have to say, and of course it's my old hat, but the fact that you have this on your website, on your blog, it's like a little beacon out there that many people may not hear. And we're so much attuned now to absorbing what comes in the stream in LinkedIn and other, but like, if it goes past someone, it goes past so fast, and there's no not much power for it to surface again, unless maybe someone re-echoes it. But if it's out there on a website somewhere, it's like a little bit of potentiality. And so, that's my thing. I don't account on the social media streams to necessarily bring you.
You got to have a domain and a blog that lasts for years, like Alan.
Yeah, but there's a lot of people now, you don't necessarily need the big fancy setups like we used to try to get folks to do. So like stuff that you can, there's some really neat little platforms now that are available to have that publishing capability without having the overhead of running a big website. But that's getting into the technical nuts and bolts. I don't want to do that. I'm just so happy that we had this chance to talk. I really want to thank you, Girish. I just adore that you signed up and you brought so much good idea and energy to this discussion. And I for one, will be watching to see what you do. And everybody, thank you so much for being part of this informal discussion.
Thank you for having me. It was really great to have to listen all of you and your insights, and I will be taking it forward in future and applying it, and would be really helpful for me. So thank you for having me here.
Well, great. And Nate, enjoy Austin, sitting in the Driscoll. Man, you got it made.
I will try. Thanks for having me on, and it was really great to meet you all. Yeah, and I'd love to hear that the bingo card is in use. So,
All right, and the stream
cheers.
will be ending with a video.